I know you love earning travel rewards and cash back, and that's why you're going to love Rakuten. With Rakuten, you can earn cash back on everything you need to book your dream trip, hotels, flights, rental cars, experiences, and more, while still booking through your favorite travel sites. And don't worry, cash back can be earned on top of earning the credit card points and the hotel and airline loyalty points that matter most to you, depending on how you make your booking. Plus, with Rakuten, you can also earn cash back on groceries and other purchases like electronics, pet supplies, and more. And the best part, you can join today for free and start earning cash back on top of your travel rewards. Go to Rakuten.com or get the app. That's Rakuten, Rakuten. Rakuten, the most rewarding way to shop.
It's a farmers market that gathers farmers and artisans from across Latvia to sell their crafts and their food items. And it's a really great place to connect with the small-scale producers that you don't come across when you shop at supermarkets. For travelers, I'd say it's really one of the best places to get really nice handmade souvenirs and memorable little bits and pieces from your time in Latvia.
That is today's guest, Lelde Benke-Lungevica, giving you the inside scoop on a local market in Riga, Latvia, that most travelers miss. In fact, you're going to get a ton of incredible local recommendations for things to see, do, and eat in Riga in today's episode, because Lelde is a local resident and the founder of lifeinriga.com, which is a hybrid expat resource and guidebook designed to help you move to, live in, or just appreciate and understand Latvia, its capital city, Riga, and the locals. And in this episode, you'll discover some of Riga's hidden gems, including a must-do ancient wellness tradition, which hidden neighborhoods to explore, why the artisanal cider scene rivals anything found in other parts of Europe, and where the real magic of Riga lies. Hint, it's not in the old town, and loads more. Whether you're planning a trip to Riga, seeking a bit of fodder to satiate your wanderlust, or just looking for new destinations to add to your growing list of places you want to visit, you're going to love this one. And let's dive into it. So buckle up, strap in. Thanks for being here, and welcome to the Zero to Travel podcast, my friend.
You're listening to the Zero to Travel podcast, where we explore exciting travel-based work, lifestyle, and business opportunities, helping you to achieve your wildest travel dreams. And now your host, world wanderer and travel junkie, Jason Moore.
Hey, it's Jason here with ZeroToTravel.com. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here, letting me bring a little travel into your ears today. This is the show to help you travel the world on your terms, to fill your life with as much travel as you desire, no matter what your situation or experience. And part of that is exploring new destinations. Perhaps Riga, Latvia has been on your radar as a place to visit. Perhaps you've been there. Perhaps you now want to go after listening to this episode. You know, there's a bit of a trifecta over in Eastern Europe that I'm working on visiting. I've already been to Tallinn, Estonia. Vilnius in Lithuania is the other one, and Riga, Latvia, which my wife has been to, but I haven't been to. Pretty easy places to get to, actually, from Oslo, Norway, where I live. And that's one of the reasons I was so excited to chat with Lelde from lifeinriga.com. I love the intention behind the resource she's built there. I think this will set us up as we go into this conversation. She says, quote, "Our focus now is on stories of life in Riga. We love exploring unfamiliar places, meeting new people, and discovering things we never knew. This is where we share our discoveries and learnings to try to give an authentic overview of life in Riga to oppose existing stereotypes and exaggerated news stories," end quote. That is the lens through which she curates content over there and creates content. And going into this episode, I just wanted to share that because I think that's what we're looking for as travelers, right? We want the authentic overview. We want to figure out a way, as best we can, in the short amount of time we have in places, to get into the local scene. And this is a bit of a hack as well. These expat type of resources that focus maybe a little bit more on what it's like to live in a place, or gives you not just things to see, do, and eat, but also some recommendations about life there and things like that. They can be a bit of a sneaky way to understand a place in terms of your pre-trip research. So I would encourage you to move on from this episode. Check out lifeinriga.com. And without further ado, here's my conversation with Lelde. Stick around on the back end. I'll leave you with a quote that may help you move closer to the truth, whatever that means to you in this moment. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the other side. Enjoy my conversation with Lelde. Lelde Benke-Lungevica. Welcome to the Zero to Travel podcast, my friend. How you doing? Did I get it?
You've got it, Jason.
Yes. Awesome. Great to have you here. Of course, lifeinriga.com is your website, and you've got a killer list for us today. I don't know too much about it, but I know you have an expertise on Riga. You've been writing about it. You have your own story of kind of moving back there. You want to talk a little bit about your time in Riga, how you ended up there, and yeah, I just want to hear a little bit more about like what the city means to you.
So, hi everyone. I'm Lelde, and I've been a resident of Riga on and off for about 30 years. I'm Latvian by nationality, but I was born in Australia. That's a long story. Moved here when I was 7 years old with my parents in the mid-90s, and then did my schooling here and disappeared again when I was 18. Spent about 6 years living abroad, studying in Scotland and a few other places. Got some work experience, and then at some point got really homesick. So I moved back to Latvia in 2013, so 11 years ago now. Soon after that, I also started blogging about my experience of returning to Riga, of learning to live here and love the place. And I still keep blogging about it now in 2024. So 11 years on, yeah, I still haven't gotten bored of blogging about the city, and I still find stories.
Well, why did you choose to do that? Because you didn't have to write about it and think about it all the time and sort of take that meta point, viewpoint of writing and trying to sort of understand a place. A lot of people, they have their own ways of doing that. Is writing for you kind of a part of processing and kind of figuring out? I know you mentioned on the website something about kind of trying to help you figure out what home is and identity and the concept of home, I guess you said. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's been a huge part of it, actually. The blog and writing has just helped me build that sense of belonging and find stories that I can identify with and share other people's stories that might help other people settle back in or move here from other places.
Well, when you were 7, was that a hard time for you to do? How was that adjustment for you personally?
Not that I remember much, because I was really young at that age, but I've heard from my parents, and I kind of, I guess, know on some level that it wasn't easy for me. Even just like things like the climate, moving from sunny Australia to a place in the global north that has 4 very distinct seasons and a pretty deep and dark winter. Things like having to move from having a house with a garden, being able to run around quite freely, to moving to an apartment, and things like that are pretty big for a 7-year-old kid. And going through that experience of adapting and learning to live in a new place, and then repeating that again several times throughout my life when I chose to study and work abroad as well.
Yeah, I can imagine that was, it's a total lifestyle change, not to mention a country change, and a language change and all the rest. The climate you mentioned, I was in Estonia last winter. I live in Norway, very familiar with the long, dark winters. How much is the climate shaping the culture there?
I'd say it still guides quite a lot in our day-to-day. Summer is a very active time when people spend a lot of time outdoors and a lot of time socializing. In the olden days, our ancestors would have spent a lot more time working. It was a time of, having to prepare all the food and everything for the winter season. Whereas now, obviously, we're more urban, most of us at least, and it's just a time where people do more, go out more, are around people more. Whereas starting from autumn and through to about early spring, we spend a lot of time indoors and really surrounded with our loved ones, and just kind of live a more low-key lifestyle, I'd say, focused around food and being together and all kinds of things you can do inside. Although nowadays we're also like really active in things like winter sports. Even though Latvia is not a really mountainous place, anywhere that there's a hill, you're likely to find downhill skiing trails, and people do skating a lot on ponds and lakes. You don't even necessarily have to find an official skating rink. We're very resourceful in that way.
Well, one of the things I loved about your About page, and then we'll dive in a bit into this list here, is what you're trying to do with your work. And the blog is, you said you share discoveries and learnings to try to give an authentic overview of life in Riga to oppose existing stereotypes and exaggerated news stories, which definitely caught my eye and I think is a good sort of context for the list, kind of knowing where you're coming from. Before we start getting into that, can you talk about what are some of the existing stereotypes, these exaggerated news stories that you're referring to that you kind of wanted to, with your work, be a counterpoint to that, or just paint a real, more authentic picture?
Unfortunately, I feel like a lot of people still don't really distinguish the Baltic countries and sometimes even the Baltics from the Balkan countries. We kind of get grouped together as Eastern Europe. And that's, I would say, the major existing stereotype, or just fact of lack of information and lack of knowledge that people might have about these parts of the world. I wanted to kind of focus more on Latvia's story in particular and what makes us not necessarily unique, but who we are and distinct in some way. Also, of course, nowadays there's a lot of fear that people have regarding this region and the reality of living so close to war. Whereas I kind of also want to show people that life does go on, and that doesn't mean we're not aware of what's going on, and that doesn't mean that we're not supportive of Ukraine here. But we do kind of still have to keep going for the sake of our country, for the sake of our sanity, and to help in any way that we can.
You mentioned lack of knowledge in this region and wanting to share some things that are distinctly Latvian. And I think, through this list, which will be fun and obviously a good actionable thing that people can take that are listening, first of all, to just kind of see, hey, like, what is there to see in Riga and beyond? And what are some of the experiences I can have? And then through that, maybe you can also share some of the reasons why these things are perhaps distinctly Latvian and get us a little more connected to the local culture. Does that sound like a plan?
Absolutely.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
Let's dive in. I know we talked about some of the more off the beaten path type of experiences that people can have. I mean, it's pretty easy to go on, one of the big aggregator websites and see sort of like top 10 things to do or whatever. But the goal here is to kind of give you more than that. So, and I know you worked hard to put this list together. So where do you want to start? I mean, so much to explore, right?
There really is. And a lot of people, understandably, start with the Old Town, which is like the number one site to see, the place to explore. Well, I actually wanted to take people out of the Old Town. To a kind of less explored part of Riga, I would say. The Old Town is on the right bank of the river Daugava that splits Riga into two parts. I want to take people across the river to the left bank and to one particular neighborhood, which is called Agenskalns. It's a really popular residential neighborhood these days. And it's known for the really beautiful wooden architecture that we have a lot of in Riga. It's also known for not just one, but two really great markets. One of them is on Saturdays. It's a farmers market that gathers farmers and artisans from across Latvia to sell their crafts and their food items. And it's a really great place to connect with the small scale producers that you don't come across when you shop at supermarkets. For travelers, I'd say it's really one of the best places to get really nice handmade souvenirs and memorable little bits and pieces from your time in Latvia. And it happens in a really pretty little courtyard surrounded by those characteristic wooden buildings that we have here. And the other one, within walking distance of that, is Agenskalns Market. So it's named after the neighborhood. And that has a really cool story. It's been around since the turn of the 19th and 20th centuries, but it recently got completely revamped because it had kind of like died down over the years and suffered from like the arrival of supermarkets and different shopping habits. But a few years ago, it got new ownership and they just completely revamped the building. It's super trendy, I'd say. And the ground floor is like little food stalls, and upstairs is where you can have meals as well, meals and drinks. And it's like a neighborhood gathering place. They also do a lot of events. They hold regular concerts and poetry readings, cooking workshops, things like that. And previously, like, I never went across the river for a night out, but since that place opened, I actually go there quite often just to hang out with friends.
I mean, obviously people are going to check out the old town, but you're saying get out and get to the left bank and check out this. How do you spell the neighborhood? We'll have to, if you don't mind, sending us a list of some of these things, because the spellings in some of these countries hard to, wrap our heads around unless we can see it. But yeah.
Absolutely. The language is one of only two existing Baltic languages. So yeah, it's particular. The neighborhood is called Agenskalns, and it's spelled Agenskalns.
Okay, perfect. Before we move on, you mentioned souvenirs, and I have these sort of montage in my head. Like you can put souvenirs into several camps, right? But then you have like the sort of tchotchke souvenirs that are fun, but they come from another country generally. And then you have more of the perhaps local type of craftsmanship souvenirs that you can get. In terms of souvenirs, if somebody is in Latvia and they want to take something home that's very sort of Latvian and very local to the place, what would be some of the things that they should look for at these markets?
Definitely knitwear. We have absolutely beautiful mittens in particular, and you'll recognize them from the ancient signs and symbols that are knitted into the patterns. Like the symbols might represent things like fertility or luck or good health. Then there's a whole lot of bee products. Honey is the obvious one. And then there's different kinds of pollens and other items that the beekeepers can tell you more about. They're really good for the immune system. We're really lucky to have as many bees as we have here in Latvia. Like I never have to buy honey because I know a few beekeepers and they just share some every year. Like it's just a phenomenon that we have here. And then pottery as well. One region of Latvia, the east, is particularly well known for this dark gray, black pottery. The sets are really amazing for like tea or coffee drinking. That's a good place to start with. And then food, of course, like different kinds of food items. Hemp seed butter is something that we eat a lot of. Traditionally, very good, packed full of omega-3s and everything. So again, good for the immune system and helps us survive the winter months. Lots of artisanal cheeses, smoked meats as well. So yeah, lots of things.
Awesome. Thanks for painting that picture. I'm getting hungry. I'm sure we're going to talk about food. We'll get back to the interview in just a moment. I know you love earning travel rewards and cash back, and that's why you're going to love Rakuten. With Rakuten, you can earn cash back on everything you need to book your dream trip, hotels, flights, rental cars, experiences, and more, while still booking through your favorite travel sites. And don't worry, cash back can be earned on top of earning the credit card points and the hotel and airline loyalty points that matter most to you, depending on how you make your booking. Plus, with Rakuten, you can also earn cash back on groceries and other purchases like electronics, pet supplies, and more. And the best part, you can join today for free and start earning cash back on top of your travel rewards. Go to Rakuten.com or get the app. That's Rakuten, Rakuten. Rakuten, the most rewarding way to shop. Now, back to the show. All right, what do you have next?
Next on the list, I have the beach. You might not associate a city with the beach, but actually Riga has several beaches of its own, and you can hop on a train in the center of town and be in a completely different environment in about 30 minutes. And I'd say that's also like one of our survival mechanisms is spending so much time and just being so close to nature here in Latvia. And the beach is just a place we go to not only swim in winter as well. Winter swimming is pretty big here, but also just to walk and clear the head. You can also cycle there and back quite easily. The beaches, for example, Vataki beach and Bolderai beach, they're also part of this really long Baltic coastal hiking route that you can walk.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Have you done that?
I haven't. I've done like short day hikes on the beach, which I would say is like pretty common for most Latvians. But yeah, I know several people who've done really much longer sections and gone for like 3 days or even up to like 2 weeks of hiking. Like an alternative to the Camino in Portugal or Spain.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never heard about this. I just looked it up. So this is the Baltic coastal hiking route, a long distance hiking route, and it's 1,419 kilometers. So 70 to 72 days. They say it takes on their website. That's really cool. Yeah. So like thinking about maybe doing a section of that or just going on a walk and experiencing a little bit of that. I mean, what's kind of appealing about that coastal walk is you're along the coast and also it's going to be flat. So it's not going to be super intense, right? You're not really going through any mountains on a coastal hike like this, I imagine, in this area.
Yeah, it's just, I'd say part of the appeal is the fact that you can be alone for a lot of the time, which is a rare luxury these days. I mean, wherever you go in the world, there's usually people, but our coastline is so long that yeah, you can go for miles without seeing anyone or seeing only a couple of people. So it is just really a great place to be alone, clear the head, engage in some mindfulness, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, there you go. You can go to Riga to go to the beach.
Absolutely. And I don't think a lot of people would think that.
Yeah. Is that something you like to do? Is it like go on walks and clear your head in that way? Is that important to your daily life, that type of practice?
Yeah.
I just did that. I literally just went on a walk before this chat. I did do that exact thing.
I love to go walking. Like usually if it's a working day, I'll just walk in the city, obviously. But come the weekend, I'll be out somewhere. Usually my husband and I go to the countryside. Yeah, every once in a while, we'll go to the beach as well.
I think I read that he is not Latvian, right? Is he from another country, your husband?
My husband is Latvian.
He is? Okay.
The person that I started the blog with a long time ago was not Latvian.
Okay. Yeah, because I saw something about international relationships. Might have been, no, apologies. I think it was an article you did on weddings there, and I was reading about them, and I know it highlighted some stories, which is cool. Like, I think that's part of, we definitely share that value in terms of just sharing stories and stories as a way to learn and connect, like you're doing here, sharing stories from your life and from life there. So I think that's great. I love that about your work. Just so people know, we can go check it out. Life in Riga, if you want to learn more.com. Yeah, it's not just like a blog about your experiences. You're sharing all sorts of stories from locals and the culture and everything like that. So it's a different way in, I think, which is why I wanted to have you here. Okay, let's get away from. Well, I don't know if we're getting away from the coast. You tell me where we're going.
I'd say after a hike or even just a short walk, you need a break, right? You need a coffee and a cake or something
That sounds
to
delicious.
boost your energy. So somehow Latvia has become really great at making cakes. We have a huge amount of bakeries and patisseries. I have heard one version, which there's no way of really testing or anything or proving, but apparently, like during the 2008-2009 economic crisis, there was a boom in small bakeries and coffee shops because as opposed to like dining out and having a full-on meal, people chose having a coffee and a cake, which was much more affordable. Like you could still go out and meet your friends in a place outside the home, but you wouldn't have to spend as much as you would in a restaurant. So there was a bit of a boom, in patisseries and cake shops, and since then it's just never really stopped. And there's just a new bakery announced every few months. And some of them are like really, really affordable little chain kind of places. Like Mārtiņa is a really popular chain where you can have a coffee and a bun for up to about maybe €3. And then there's like the high-end patisseries that are super trendy. They have beautiful interiors, and there you'd be paying maybe something more like between €6 and €7 for a coffee and a fancy snack or cake. There's places like Mulberry and Kukuotava, Nikla, and they all have really excellent coffee because we have high standards now related to coffee drinking. There's a few coffee chains that are helping us move away from like the cheap coffee drinking and helping us explore the world of like freshly roasted fair trade specialty coffees. It's Rocket Bean and Kalv. They're the two big Latvian coffee roasters these days.
Okay, if people are going to try like one pastry, one or two, what should they have?
The absolute classic is a pīrāgs, which is small little moon-shaped pie, which is just a regular wheat-based dough filled with bacon and onion. So if you're a meat eater, that's the number one, I would say. For something sweet, you could have like a cinnamon bun or a jam bun. Again, it's just very traditional, quite heavy wheat-based dough, either filled with jam or cinnamon, and they're just like the absolute standard. And I would say that the quality of a cinnamon bun or a jam bun is something that you can use to judge the quality of a bakery.
We have a similar type of thing going on here in Norway. A lot of bakeries and coffee places, unfortunately, more expensive than what you just mentioned. But I mean, this got me thinking as you were bringing this up. First of all, it sounds super cozy. And I know you have an article about, like, do you guys have a version of hygge, like the Danish thing? We can talk about that in a little bit. But also when I was in that region last year, again, didn't get to the pleasure to go to Latvia, but I kind of noticed, wow, I never really thought about the connection between the Baltic countries and Scandinavia. And when you look at the map and you can see, it obviously makes sense because you could imagine back in the day, people jumping from like port to port, trading and all this stuff. These cultures are very intertwined in some ways, Scandinavia and some of the Baltic cultures. They're each their own distinct thing, but they have they're influencing each other in some ways. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that? Am I way off base or What do you think?
No, you're not way off base. And I wish we would focus more on similarities, I guess, these days, rather than always this polarizing approach and focusing on what makes us all different. I think we have a lot in common, starting from the fact that, we all live in the north, which means that we're quite guided by seasonality and we're familiar with having to go through several months of really dark weather. And we have similar coping mechanisms that we've all developed over the years.
Yeah, coping mechanisms to deal with the weather. I hear you on that. No, I mean, yeah, even like the design, kind of the vibe of how sort of things are built. And I don't know, people travel to this area in the world, and if they've been to Scandinavia, they can kind of see might be something there.
Absolutely. And I feel like if Latvia and obviously all the surrounding countries hadn't been subjected to many years of Soviet occupation, then we would probably be even more similar to the Scandinavian countries in many ways, like in terms of development. So that's something to keep in mind and consider.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the history is embedded in any place. Has to be. Okay, what do you have next? I mean, this is sounding like an awesome trip already. I get to go to this like cool neighborhood, get to go to the beach, do some walking, maybe swimming, depending on the weather. Get to go to a bakery and have some coffee and some delicious treats. I mean, I'm sold already, and we're only 3 in, but you got more for us, so lay it on us.
Yeah, I have a couple more things on my list. From cakes, I'd move on to drinks. And one particular drink that I'd like to highlight, which again, some people might not associate with Latvia necessarily, but cider. Our cider cider making scene is really growing really fast. And it's naturally so because apples grow here and they're very widely available. And it's a nice way to preserve them is by making cider. And there's been this whole movement growing in the last few years of independent cider makers. We started with beer, obviously, like many other countries in the region. We have a good selection of beers here, but I would say the cider is more unknown, unusual at the moment still. And there's one particular pub in the old town called Sidraria, which is like the only pub and shop specialized in cider. So if you're only in Riga, then that's a good point to go. But if you're traveling to other places in Latvia, then there's also a cider route that you can follow and visit the actual breweries and orchards and places that specialize in growing the apples and producing the cider. And it's not just apple flavored. You can also get really nice like fusion flavors, I guess you could call them, with different berries and herbs. Like there's a really good one with ginger. There's ones with the aronia berry, which is quite a sour one. Yeah.
It sounds hyper local, right? Like you're getting the apples from there, and that's what's being used to produce it. So that's always great when you can tap into the local culinary scene in that way.
As I understand, it's also quite a sustainable drink because, it's produced here locally and it doesn't take much energy to ferment. It's a pretty good choice in many ways.
Yeah, right on. All right, what else?
Contemporary art. Yeah, that's a nice, I don't know.
A nice segue?
Natural segue.
Sure, we can make it work.
Exactly. We don't have a contemporary art museum, which is a bit painful for us locals. There's one on the cards. We even have the plans and everything. The site has been designated. But it's just not happening because, money is an issue, etc., etc. But even though we don't have a national contemporary art museum, we have a few galleries doing a good job instead. And one of them is called Kim. It's just moving to a new location in an old school building, so they're like refurnishing this old old building. And Museum is also another really great option, and it's in an old cork factory. So again, you get that like ex-industrial atmosphere, but now the building is built with art, and they both regularly change the exhibitions. They also have a host of events, performance art, concerts. They have really good programs to get people to come back, not just come once. And then there's a whole host of smaller little galleries as well that do shows and try to get the word out about younger emerging artists here in Latvia.
Okay. Yeah. So if people want to take in sort of the art scene and perhaps stumble into some live events and different things of that nature, they should check out local galleries, basically.
And there's also an event series. It's on hold for a while right now, but I expect it will come back. It's called Riga Last Thursdays, which is one Thursday every month, where several galleries and smaller sites open their doors in the evenings so that people can go on gallery tours and walks after work.
Yeah, okay. Outside of your website and your work, do you have any other resources that you like to check out or send people to for researching a trip? Or
the official tourist website for Riga is really good. The Live Riga website has information on ongoing events and places to see. They're actually really good at sharing the smaller, lesser known places as well. And then there's Riga Neighborhood. That's also a good platform for articles and more in-depth research.
Yeah, that's great. I think also small events like that, if you can find something that just happens to be going on, that is a nice way into a place too. We've got two more, I guess. Mm-hmm. Is that okay? What do you have for us?
I've got a sort of wellness experience to recommend as well. So
please tell me it's a sauna. I love saunas.
It is closely related to the sauna, yes.
All right.
Although, like the true experts and professionals will be able to explain the differences between the sauna and the Latvian pirts much better than I will.
Okay.
Yes, we call it the pirts here in Latvia.
How do you spell that?
Pirts.
Pirts, okay.
Pirts, yeah.
Yep.
And it's both a place, so the physical building or the room, and a practice that you can engage in when you go to that space. And it's kind of like a family tradition. A lot of people will just go to the pits at weekends together with their relatives, friends. A lot of people have their own little pits building in the countryside because many Latvians have a country home as well. That's part of our culture. And nowadays you can also go to public pits or hire pits for a few hours. That's quite easily available in Riga and outside Riga. And the practice that I would really recommend trying as well if you're here for a few days is going to the pits with a pitnieks or a pit professional, someone who guides a ritual that takes about 4 hours, and it involves spending time in the heat and then spending time in the cold, potentially dipping into cold water, potentially being massaged, potentially being beaten lightly with branches, potentially being sung to. You just kind of have to trust the pits professional and go with the flow. And the process is really, really good for not only your physical health, but also mental and emotional health. It's something that our ancestors used as a kind of healing practice before the advent of modern day medicine. It's been with us for a very, very long time, and it's kind of experiencing a really big revival these days as well. There's a few birth centers that are developing, like Ziedlais, which is only about an hour's drive from Riga, has a whole series of pits and cabins that you can stay in after your experience, so that you can rest and relax and really embody the whole experience that you went through.
We'll get back to the interview in just a moment. Now, back to the show. It's interesting how different cultures have these, let's call them sort of like ritual type transformative containers, experiences in variety of modalities. Some of them are, you could think about like ayahuasca or something in Peru, like some of them are drug induced. Others are something like this, where it's a bit more, it's natural, but then you're still putting your body through different, it's interesting. Like, have you gone through the 4-hour thing? I'm wondering if you did, what you got out of it.
I have had several of those experiences in recent years. I've discovered that it really helps me. It kind of grounds me, and it helps me deal with questions that I might not be able to solve purely on a rational level, because it kind of takes you into different states of consciousness. The contrast between the heat and the cold and the extremes that the PITS professionals take you to very skillfully. They always know like how far you can go, and they will like tell you when you need to leave the hot space and get some fresh air and everything. So I put my trust in them completely, and I think that's also a big part of the experience, is letting go of control and allowing someone else to help you and guide you.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And that some of those people that act as that guide, they just, if they have experience and they're good, they have this intuitive sort of way about them where they can take you through it. And I don't know, it's just an interesting dynamic when you're in that, So in that experience, sorry, I'm really curious because that sounds like something I would love to try out. Is that you and one other person, or is it a group thing, or how does that work?
You can choose, depending on what it is that you want to resolve or work on. You can also just go there to relax. That's perfectly okay. You don't necessarily need to have some kind of issue that you're working on. So you can do it as a couple or a group, as a socializing activity as well. Then you might have several PITS professionals taking care of you. Or you can do it individually and do it more as a deeper practice on the body, mind, spiritual level. It's good for couples as well, kind of alternative to couples therapy, or complementary practice to couples therapy as well.
Okay, so before we move on from PIRTS, because I saw the article on your website about, a lot of the memories you had about PIRTS growing up is, like music to dance to and like getting together with a bunch of high school friends and drinking and all that kind of stuff. And that's that's another part of it too. So I just wanted to throw that out there because, what should people do if they maybe they want to have that experience and they're like, hey, I want to see like how the Latvians really party and throw down. So I'm going to go to this one or this area to have those experiences, or I'm going to go to this one for the more of the wellness kind of healing thing, or just the relaxation thing.
That's this odd thing that I think many Latvian high schoolers are familiar with. The fact that you can hire these PIT spaces, and they usually come with some kind of room next to them that's intended for gatherings.
It's a place to party.
Yeah, the high schoolers interpret it as a place to party because it's somewhere away from the house, away from parents. And if you chip in a few euros, or back in the day it was lats in my high school years, then you could hire the space for a few hours for a very reasonable cost. And then it was never about the pits. Like the pits was just there, but very few people actually went in. We would usually just use the common like area to play music and dance, and yeah, your average teenage stuff. But some people still do that as well. Like you can grow up and continue that tradition, I guess. But I wouldn't say that that's the same as having the spiritual mind-body experience that you have with a practitioner. Those are two different things.
You mentioned the place like an hour outside of town. Maybe you want to get a little more rural for something like that. Is that recommended, or?
I'd say that can be an extra kind of level to the whole experience. Although you can have it in Riga too. There's a few places like I've been to one actually close to the airport called Saunas or Sun Pirts, and it's just someone who is specialized and trained in the pits, who has opened a pit in his backyard, and that's where he works from, and it works fantastically well because it's close to home for city people. And
yeah, okay. I just wanted to bring that up because if somebody shows up at one of these piers and they're like, Jason, you said this was going to be like this holistic wellness experience, and all I hear is, ABBA playing on repeat or something, you now know. All right, we're coming into the final stretch. Got the last one.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have?
This one's going to be a broad one.
Okay.
We could talk about it for a long time. The hidden gem of Riga that I'd like to finish off with is the rest of Latvia. Because,
nice.
I feel like a lot of people are aware of Riga and would be kind of aware that a lot of people go to Riga for weekend breaks and partying and stuff. However, Latvia is very, very compact. Everything is really close by. So I would always suggest, even if you're only here for a few days, then to tag on at least one day trip outside the city, by train, by bus, or if you have a longer time, then I would really suggest getting a car and doing like a longer, slower journey through Latvia and potentially the rest of the Baltics too. Because the farthest point from Riga in Latvia is about 4 hours drive, just for people to get an impression of how close everything is.
Right. So where would you recommend people? Can you give us like one or two towns that might be nice to, spend some time in, overnight in, perhaps?
Absolutely. One area that I would suggest going to is Gauja National Park, and it has several smaller towns, Sigulda, Ligatne, and Cēsis, that all have nice places to stay, nice places to eat. And the great thing about going to places like that is that you can have both a kind of very natural experience of being out in the outdoors in the wilderness, hiking, cycling, potentially boating, but then coming back in the evening to really nice hotel with a restaurant, having those creature comforts available. Ligatne and Cēsis even have a few restaurants that are on the Michelin list, not necessarily starred, but recommended by Michelin. So good food in Latvia after a nice day out in the woods.
That's something that I would totally do as a hack there, like the rest of Latvia. It's a little bit of a cheat, but a good cheat in a good way. And I love it. I mean, get a car and explore. It's, So in terms of food, what is the sort of classic meal everybody should try?
Cool. That's a tough one because, we have this, slight difficulties with defining our national cuisine, just because of our history and how we've been influenced by so many different cultures that have passed through. So we have the Germanic influence, the Slavic influence, the Swedish influence, because of how those powers were interested in our land and ruled here for centuries. What is considered like a really Latvian dish is grey peas, which is this specific type of round pea, which is actually brown when it's cooked, confusingly. And you eat it with fried bacon and onion. So it's really, really rich. It's perfect for the winter months. I wouldn't necessarily eat it in summer because it's quite heavy, but it's like a nice proper comfort food. So that's something that's considered properly Latvian. We also have this controversial pie. Controversial because some people claim it's really disgusting, whereas a lot of people believe, and me included, that it's a really nice pastry. It's a rye bread pastry filled with a mix of carrot and potato, and it's just really wholesome and hearty.
Okay. It's not every day I hear about a controversial pie. That's, that's great. That pie is a rebel rouser. All right. I mentioned earlier that and you had an article on your website. Is there a Latvian version of hygge, like that concept of in Denmark that's become sort of famous or went viral in some ways, where you're kind of getting, and we do this in Norway too. And I'm curious. I'm bringing this up because, again, the Scandinavia connection kind of thing. So it's about like just embracing sort of like the coziness, even it's cold outside, you can light some candles and just be cozy, I guess would be the best way to describe. Do you guys have that too?
We don't really have a concept that's become as widely recognized as hygge or hygge. I've spoken to a few people who are more knowledgeable in folklore and our history, and they suggested that the Latvian equivalent might be vakarēšana, which is the practice that our ancestors engaged in sort of from around this time of the year to Christmas and afterwards, Yuletide, not Christmas historically. And it was just that people would huddle together in the barn or a similar shared space and spend the evening together doing crafts or reading or telling stories. So it was about being together and actively spending time together and generating this sense of togetherness and as a result generating positive emotions and helping each other sustain some level of positivity in the dark months of the year.
I know this is speculation, this is a big question, but in terms of the direction of the city and the future of the city, where do you think it's going?
Ooh, well, our population is shrinking, so that's one aspect. It's a bit shrouded in mystery, our future, and a lot of people are choosing to move outside the city because Latvians really love personal space and privacy, and having a house or having somewhere to take care of actively that gives you the opportunity to do some kind of manual labor. I think that's a big part of our identity. The areas around the city are really booming. The suburbs are becoming very active communities, but the actual city center, it's a good question and quite an open question. What's going to happen with the buildings that are apartments and offices? Obviously, and nowadays a lot of them are being made into hotels, co-working spaces, cultural centers. The kind of trend is to try to get people together to build communities, and
The world is changing, but community is a good thing. We need that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can be too isolated nowadays.
And a lot of work is going into making the city more green as well. I know that's happening worldwide, but yeah, here there's a lot of cycle infrastructure being implemented. Literally little parks or little green areas being introduced to the central neighborhoods. There's experiments with trying to pedestrianize some areas to try to make the space more livable and not so car-centric as they have been until now. So those are some of the things that are happening.
Well, I think you made a compelling case for us to come visit you in Riga. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here and then put together the list and kind of just share your thoughts and perspectives. Lifeinriga.com. Of course, we'll link up to that. Anywhere else people can connect with you? You can share here any big things we missed that you wanted to share before we let you go.
Thanks for having me, first of all. And if anyone wants to come to Latvia after hearing this, then I hope that the blog is a useful platform. And you're very welcome. And there's a few other resources that people can consult. I think I mentioned the Live Riga website, for example, is really good. And then there's forums on Facebook, like Visit Riga, and even expats in Latvia are really good for finding more local insights into what life is like here and kind of more off the beaten path things that you can experience here.
Amazing. How do I say thank you in Latvian?
Paldies.
Paldies?
Yes, perfect.
Paldies. Thank you so much, and let's stay in touch.
Let's stay in touch, yeah, and hopefully see some of you in Latvia.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
There you have it. Thank you to our guest, Lelde, and check out our resource, lifeinriga.com. I'm going to leave you with a quote now from Pema Chodron. I mentioned at the top, this may help you move closer to the truth, whatever that means to you. If you're seeking some truth in some aspect of your life right now, this one might be helpful. She said, fear is a natural reaction to moving closer to the truth. So enjoy that one. Chew on that one. Thanks for listening. I appreciate your presence here in this community. Don't forget, we have a newsletter, by the way, zerototravel.com/newsletter. Keep in touch off the pod and get all of the latest and greatest over there. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time. Peace and love to you and yours. Cheers.
This podcast has been brought to you by zerototravel.com. Ideas and advice to make your travel dreams a reality.